Get ready to explore conversations that resonate with TK Ntebe, your trusted voice in personal finance, travel, and lifestyle. The Open Korner podcast is where Africa's brightest minds, thought leaders, and trailblazers come together to inspire change, challenge norms, and spark new ideas.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Open Korner podcast. It's been a while, and I must admit that a lot has been happening, but here we are today. Today's episode is really one that I've been looking forward to, and I've been called out on a couple of occasions for not having this podcast. So today we are talking about everything governance and leadership, right? And if you've been following the Open Korner, you'll know that this podcast is more than just conversation. It's about thought leadership, and it's about getting to know the leaders behind the big titles. My guest today is an amazing trailblazer, and as is tradition, I'm going to let her introduce herself, but I'll have you know that she is a thought leader when it comes to corporate governance. She's a board chair in many organizations, and she's just generally an amazing human being. My guest today is Mazvi. If you don't know Mazvi, you get to know her because today's episode is all about her. Mazvi, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for coming to the Open Korner podcast.
I've been looking forward to it.
I know you have. I know you called me out on a couple of occasions to say, you say we're going to do this podcast.
Yes.
So finally it's happening.
Well, it's my first podcast.
Your first for us.
There you go.
Very honored to have you here. So I love to start my podcast with a couple of icebreaker activities just to ease the conversation, right? So as I do with the other podcasts, the TKO Finance and Wellness podcast, I'm going to ask a question to say, how are you arriving today? I learned this trick from a psychologist who says, in this present moment, how are you arriving?
I'm arriving open. I'm arriving with anticipation, with excitement for opportunity and potential. A little bit of trepidation. Don't want to get it wrong, but I think with some integrity and vulnerability. Let's see where we go.
Let's see where we go. I love that. Book that you're currently reading, if any.
Let's see. I've just started a book. Put it this way. I am beginning the entrepreneurial journey. And I have realized that there's a lot to be learned. But I'm looking for something more experiential than technical. So I've gathered a couple of books which have been recommended to me by friends and acquaintances. And the one I'm reading now is about how to leverage relationships. So that's what I'm currently reading.
Oh, wow. Song that you're playing in your car.
I'm very old school. Karen White. I'm playing all and any Karen White. That's what's currently on my playlist.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So let's take it all the way back to the younger version of you. What was it like growing up? Where are you growing up, and what's happening in your life at that point in time?
Okay. For those who don't know, I was born in Lesotho. Mapoteng Leribe.
Oh, wow. Okay. Street.
So
you know the colors as well.
Yes, so I was born there. My parents met at the National University of Lesotho, which I consider to have been the brain capital of Southern Africa. So my father's Zimbabwean, and they met there. And it was a time where the continent or Southern Africa was going through liberation struggles. So my father was a very political, active individual. And based on the law degree they were both doing it now, at that juncture, you needed to do the final year at the University of Edinburgh. So my father left for Edinburgh after having paid lobola. So my mother remained here, and I was born here. And then we moved to the UK. So we were in the United Kingdom for up until about the age of 10, after which Zimbabwe gained independence and the family moved to Zimbabwe, where I basically did my closed off primary, but did my secondary education. And I think based on their backgrounds, they thought it opportune that I do my tertiary in the United Kingdom. So I did my tertiary in the United Kingdom, and I was there for several more years. Tertiary is not 3 years. So I did my undergrad, postgrad. I was there for a long time. And then I decided that I need to live and understand Lesotho, because apart from being born here, I'd not spent time here. So that's when I moved to Lesotho in 97.
Sure.
And I've been here ever since.
Sure. Wow.
Now, the background of mixed parentage, culturally mixed parentage, parents who are liberation fighters from their own experience, both of whom are in the legal profession. So my household was one full of opinions, where debate was normal course of action. Your words are your tools.
Sure.
And neither of them felt at any point that there was nothing we as their two daughters could not do. My father was very clear in terms of his expectations from us. So he was the captain of the ship, stewarding us in direction, and my mother's the one who kept us emotionally sane through that very strict upbringing.
I love that, emotionally sane.
So she balanced it out in that regard. But truth of the matter is, it was very liberating. So we knew we could do anything, but they were very biased, obviously, towards law, which is why I did law. But it was a very empowering environment. It was an exciting environment. So I grew up thinking anything's possible, and wanting to be impactful. It was our time to be impactful. As my father said, if you want an excuse for failure, you've got them. You're black, you're female. The list is endless if you want to fail. If you want to succeed, the door's yours. So bought into it.
Wow. And I think you highlight something that's very important for me, at least, to say that the relationship that the parents have with the kids and allowing them to think bigger and to hold themselves accountable to the opportunities is really quite significant.
Very, very significant. But I think I should also, I look back and I could cry, but I look back now and I'm thinking, wow, that was wonderful. We never had lazy holidays. So if my dad happened to have bought a bottle store, I was at the till every day, school holidays, doing stock taking. If at the law firm, I was at the receptionist. On the farm, we were in the fields. So he really believed an idle mind is a dangerous mind.
Absolutely.
So we were active full-time all the time.
And how did that being active shape how your career unfolded? I mean, obviously, as you're working at the law firm and working at the shop and working in the farm, there are skills that you pick up. As torturous as it is, it actually reminds me, when I was growing up, my dad, I went to boarding school. So my dad, every time we went home, and I am a simu, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. Woke up at 2 in the morning in the farm, carrots. I was like, why is this? But the lessons that I learned, even in that difficult time, that has shaped my career and how I approach life. How has that experience shaped who you became?
I think one of the things that I found personally with hindsight is that being present. Do the job you have to do to the best of your ability there and then. Keep your eye on the prize. There's a tendency of people saying, oh, I can't do this because my goal is that. If you focus too long term, you're not going to get there because you're stumbling along the way. So I really have learned to focus. The value of a good work ethic. I can't understate that. It doesn't matter whether I have to be washing pots or whether I have to be presenting to cabinet. I'm going to put in the same effort in terms of making sure it's quality. And that work ethic, I think, is what stood me in good stead. Whatever I'm doing, I really want to be the best at what I'm doing. And I keep my eye on that prize. And then opportunities come knocking at my door as opposed to me constantly looking outside. Focus,
laser focus. Interesting. You study law in the UK, and then you decide to move back to Lesotho. Talk to me about that transition in terms of the UK is very developed, and then you come back home where it's a bit undeveloped at the time. How do you transition from that environment into coming back home?
I'm going to start with the end. I think, and I'm not stipulating this in a naivety, but there's a perception that the first world has everything in order and they run like a smooth ship, and suddenly you're on the dark continent and nothing works. It's not that perfect. The West is not as perfect as people like to they portray themselves to be. Okay, so I started, and I did it at university, which was the materiality of my time there. So I only got into the work environment for about, I'd say, 2 to 4 years. And in that time, I'll be frank and say to you, the name on my CV, Mazvi Guni, did not open doors for me. I wasn't Jane Brown. So I was not getting opportunities. And I found myself having to accept, I would say, very limited opportunities. So I knew from the get-go that that was not going to be a growth horizon for me. And that if I wanted to grow and get to the positions I had ambition to, I was going to have to come back home. So that colored a lot of my decision in terms of coming home. And then I think if you're trying to be impactful, you've got to determine where you're best suited to it. And from my perspective, Britain or England did not resonate as a place I want to be impactful for.
Sure.
I'd rather have that impact back home. So that's why I did the move. But really speaking to you in terms of the challenges, I did not leave because I did not come home and find uniquely systemic flaws in Lesotho. Not at all. There's nothing I've come across that's been unique. Those flaws exist whether in New York, London, or Geneva.
Sure.
So I don't have that perception of that, oh gosh, I'm coming back home where nothing works, nothing's happening. Didn't have that. If anything, I saw it as opportunities of where I could actually improve and add value.
Sure.
Yeah.
So come back home with a law degree, career starting off, you work in different places. What does your early career days, now that you're back in Lesotho, look like?
So got back home to Lesotho and I spent about a year unemployed. I couldn't find a job. So I just literally sat at home. Back then, opened the newspaper looking for adverts and applying and calling, and it was that for about a year. And then, of course, I'd never been in Lesotho, so I didn't even have the networks and the relationships in order to do that. So I spent a year doing that. And then I was fortuitous in that I got the opportunity to join the public service, Ministry of Natural Resources at the time. And they onboarded me as the principal legal advisor or officer to the ministry. That opportunity colored and was a platform for my whole career. The opportunities I got as a public servant, I would never have got anything like it if I'd been in the private sector. I'd joined a law firm. It just wouldn't have happened. So I got to represent Lesotho in SADC. I got to contribute to policy, and at that stage we were going through on the cycle of privatization. We were dealing with regulation of public utilities, drafting legislation, a platform I am forever grateful for.
Sure.
And I gave them a good nearly 10 years of my life, so I think we're even. Yeah.
I'm curious. I think as you're speaking right now, a question popped up in my mind to say, you started in the public service. And I think for a lot of people, a lot of Basotho in particular, sort of look down on the public sector.
Yes.
Even the public servants working in the public sector sort of undermine the value that they can contribute, right? So for you to say that paved the entire chapter of the foundation for your career and what came thereafter, how important in your view is for people to show up to the work that they do. Connecting it to when you're washing the dishes, you are fully engaged and fully present in that moment.
Absolutely. So every single opportunity I have been able to grasp to date and achieve to date is on that foundation. I learned governance at the Ministry of Natural Resources. I did my first secretarial function when I was being trained to be the secretary to the Lesotho Highlands Water Project ministerial reporting. There are insurmountable amount of opportunities within the public sector. If you just take your job seriously, you'll find that the opportunities come knocking. I didn't have opportunities in the public service that anybody else didn't have.
Sure.
I just chose to run with them. And I was focused and committed, and they created many opportunities for me. I also think while I was there, I didn't plan to leave. I was there and I was committed to grow within the public sector. It's only when I felt personally I'd come to somewhat of a ceiling within my function. And then I thought, in order for me to grow, I would need to pivot, and I didn't have an appetite to pivot. So then I thought I need to look elsewhere. But honestly speaking, if people could focus on what they need to do and do it well, the opportunities will come.
The opportunities will come. At which point then do you move into the mining sector? I mean, with a legal background, then you transition into a completely different industry. Obviously, law is applicable across all the different sectors.
Which is why it's the best qualification there is. Yes. How did I get into mining?
Sure.
So I left the Ministry of Natural Resources, and that was where the birthplace of governance took place. And then I got the opportunity at the central bank to join them. They were trying to expand the governance function under the secretary of the board. So I joined that function there. While I was there, a couple of years later, the ministry contacted me to say, we've got a board position in a mining company. Would you please represent government as a government nominated director?
Oh, wow.
And then the central bank kindly said they would afford me the time needed. And I took it up. Never been on a board before, but I thought, I'm committed. I will do what I need to do. And so that's how I started. And while I was on the board, as the government nominated director, the then majority shareholder was of the view that they were looking to restructure the business, take it from, I don't want to say a startup mine, but let's say it was a startup mine, but now it was growing into a really large corporate, and it needed to have the corporate governance within the business. And that's when they said to me, would I be interested in leaving as a government nominated director and join them as the resident director.
Oh, wow.
So that's how I got offered the full top position as the resident director.
These opportunities
they just keep coming. And then much earlier than I intended, the CEO was leaving. And then we had the opportunity for those of us who were interested to apply for the CEO post about 5 years earlier than I planned.
Sure.
But, you know, things fall into place, and it ended up I took the position, and I was there from 2007, but I became the CEO in 2009, and I retired in 2017. But one of the key things I always say, even when I got the position, they were like, you're not a miner, you're not an engineer. What can you possibly bring? I wasn't hired to be a miner. I wasn't hired to be an engineer. They wanted a corporate governance culture instilled in the business. They wanted the structures and processes in place. That's what I was hired to deliver. And so that's what I did. I think key is that there was a team in place that had all the necessary skill set, that had the mindset to contribute under my leadership. And the word team is really a team.
Sure.
But for them, obviously, it would not have worked. But they came to the table, and together we managed to continue to run that business to the heights that it got to, till I disappeared in 2017.
Before I get to the disappearing part, how would you describe your leadership style? I mean, I think it was quite important for you to lead a team but you do have a style of leadership. Or let me ask it this way. What is leadership according to you? And then what's your leadership style as Mazvi?
I'm going to answer it the other way around. My leadership style is one of openness and facilitation. I believe that the leader is not a dictatorial position. It's not a position of control. I like to call the CEO the chief enabling officer.
Oh, wow.
Their
That's
job is to enable, capacitate the team, the full executive team and employees at large to deliver against the targets. Now, a CEO, for me, in my experience, is not a person who is technically in control and running every aspect of the business. It can't be done. It's actually physically impossible. And I know even earlier on, I used to struggle with this delegation, abdication, balance in life. But the amount of time you invest to enable your team to deliver, it's very heavy initially. But after that, it's smooth sailing and it's sustainable.
Sustainable.
The main thing is whatever impact you have, it must be sustainable. So, in broad strokes, that's my style. I enjoy working. I like to be happy at work. I like my team to be happy at work. But I've always said you're not paid to be happy. You're paid to deliver. And when you deliver, incidentally, happiness follows. So that's sort of what I like to look at it in that regard. But I'm very open door. I'm not hierarchical. I believe there's contributions of value from across the organization. You need to be open for it. You need to enable that to be absorbed into the business and enable the business then to deliver.
Oh, wow. So you disappeared 2017, right?
Yes.
Where do you disappear to? I mean, from...
A little house. No, so I did disappear. I think one of the elements when I took on the leadership role that I did not really comprehend was how immersive the function is. You are that function all day, every day.
All day,
every day.
Sure.
So on Sunday morning, when you're in Pick and Pay buying bread, someone will walk up to you because you're the CEO.
Oh, wow.
And they need to address something with you from a business perspective.
On a Sunday morning.
On a Sunday morning. You're at a restaurant having dinner with your family. Someone needs to talk to you. They've got an issue with your procurement policy strategies. It was all consuming. Sure. To the point of, you can actually lose yourself. And so by that time, I was saturated. I felt I couldn't add any more value in terms of where the business needed to grow. And from that strategic direction, I didn't have the stamina in order to take it where it needed to go. So I thought that was a good time to bow out.
Sure.
And then in bowing out, I then had to struggle with, oh, by the way, who am I? That was a lot. That took a lot. I mean, even today, some people still call me the Diamond Lady. It's been a long time. But still. So I internally had to, do the work in terms of who am I? Therefore, what do I want to do? How do I continue life? I'm 40, what am I? I'm 47. I'm 47. I'm a retired CEO at 47. It's not, I can't go on pension.
Sure.
I have to do more.
Sure.
So I had to take the time out to re-look and see who am I, what do I want to do? And then I used that to pivot into the governance space, dedicated, focused into the governance space. I consider myself a professional non-executive director now.
Wow. As you're working through this process, what does it look like? Like, what are the emotions that come with it? What does it look like for you in that moment? Because I would imagine who am I? That's a very big question.
It is.
Especially coming off from such a position to saying, I've done the best I could. I gave it my all, but now I need to focus on me. But who am I? What are the emotions that Mazvi is feeling at this point in time?
Look, I mean, that kind of, I don't want to say existential crisis, but that kind of work comes up in many forms. I mean, there's your quiet moments where you just sit and deliberate. There's the interactions you can have with those around you. But I think for me, the turning point is where I took it to say, I need technical professional assistance. So I actually engaged an executive coach who then said, okay, let's go into the process. And we went through the work to establish what are my values? What am I still looking to achieve? What am I technically competent? Did all that work. And then I was able to define a path for myself. So there were great opportunities and learnings, but you can't be dishonest and say of course there were dark days. Nobody doesn't have dark days.
Sure.
And it's not to say that the path thereafter has been smooth sailing, but it has been one that has been very fulfilling in terms of where to go.
When the dark days hit, how do you navigate them?
I'm actually quite an introvert person. I'm comfortable in my own skin, in my own space. So I spend a lot of time by myself, thinking, reading, listening to information. I think, contrary to my characters, I have to deliberately go out and interface, deliberately set up opportunities and interactions to say, this could be something that causes me growth. Let me pull myself out and participate there and take it on board in that regard. So it's mental, it's physical. Stop sitting on the couch, walk outside, take a breath, enjoy the nature. It's all encompassing.
Sure.
Actually. Yeah.
Sure. So now you find yourself, and for me, what's interesting is, as your career started, governance has always been the golden thread, right?
Yeah.
And now suddenly, after the executive coaching, after navigating the emotions, the dark days, you come to governance.
Yes.
How did that feel in that moment? And then now let's get into the governance conversation. Yeah.
Okay. So, there's a sense of euphoria when you've got a good idea of where your path is. So I set up a consultancy. I suppose as we converse, I'll talk about some of the pitfalls of, of a great, strong corporate background. I overthunk it, for lack of a better word, and encumbered it. Before I even did the first day of work, I had a registered company, offices, stationery. I don't have a client in sight, but I had done a risk analysis, business plan. It was all there. Then reality woke up.
No,
and then you're like, no, let me focus on the clients. So I've been luckily in terms of just the knowledge within the market. I've had opportunity to develop clients in terms of the services that I render. And interestingly enough, I am not focused on big corporates. That's not my space. I'm trying to bring an understanding of the value of governance into your SME and MME entities. So that's the direction I'm hoping to have impact there.
What is governance in your view?
Governance for me, and I'm not going to use the dictionary definition of governance, but governance is the systems and the culture that you have in a business that results in sustainable value creation. Basically, things that talk around responsibility and accountability. It's really important to understand who's supposed to do what, when, who's accountable to who, management being accountable to the board being accountable to stakeholders, not shareholders, stakeholders. That sort of structure within the business, it being consistent and understood throughout the business. So there's transparency and access to information. Governance also talks importantly around culture, integrity, ethics. So broadly, how a business is conducted for me is governance.
Wow. So And I like that. Firstly, what's the name of the consultancy? Because I think that's also very important. If you're ready to share the consultancy, I mean, you did go all out.
I did go all out
to set it up, to register it, to have a website, to have all
and
of that.
then close the website, deregistered. But everyone just contacts me directly. It's Mazvi Guni. That's the consultancy. Yeah.
All right. So before we get too deep, I want to find out that transition from corporate to running your own business. I think you mentioned something quite profound there, to say that a lot of corporate professionals who leave corporate to transition into business, they come with that mindset, and starting a business from the ground up is very, very different, right?
Yes.
So for you, you're a corporate governance expert by this time. You understand the legal side of it. You've run businesses that are huge, and you've contributed significantly. But now you bring that mindset into your consultancy, and you set the structure up so beautifully, and then you realize, oh damn, there's no client.
There's no business.
There's no business plan in place.
I think corporate does give you a lot of good skills, which I think as your business matures, you'll be able to harness and bring value into it. And it's also one of the things I find as I talk to my clients is that governance is relative. The principles are fundamental and across the universe apply. But you don't want to have a startup business. It's you and maybe your friend. You started a business, and you start looking for boards, or you want an audit committee. What's the recruitment policy? It's the two of us. It's going to be the two of us for the next 5 years. You don't need a recruitment policy. So it's about it being relevant, but complying with the fundamental ethos in terms of good business practices.
Sure.
That, I think, is the most important thing, is that it scales to match your business.
Scales to match your business.
Don't overburden the business. It doesn't need that. Governance brings value. You don't have to encumber yourself where it doesn't bring value.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. And I think that statement that you just made now is actually quite interesting. Governance is supposed to bring value, right? And if, as a small business, at that point in time, my value add is to make sure that the customer experience is amazing, so that I can get the sales. Let's focus on that.
Absolutely.
But now somebody will come and say, but no, TK said I must have a social media or digital strategy policy, or whatever the case may be.
No. No, at the time, in the same way that you are the finance manager, the HR manager, the procurement guy, the HSE person, you're all that. You can all be, in terms of being cognizant of governance.
Sure.
Even when you start a business, generally, you've got a risk strategy. You're like, if I don't get there on time, I'm going to lose that client. I can't afford to put the deposit there. I need the return. That's risk management. And you're doing it anyway. For it to come up with a totally independent risk management framework strategy, your business needs to have evolved to that. But it doesn't mean you were not doing risk management. That's why I say it needs to be relevant and evolve as the business evolves.
So, having worked with your clients, what are some of the lessons, particularly with the SME space, that you've picked up that is worth highlighting? Especially because there's a lot of young people who've started businesses who are thinking or overthinking a lot of things, you know. So we are here having a conversation about governance. How then do we bring it to them to make them feel a little bit comfortable to say that it's okay, and it's okay to be doing what you're doing, but also think about the future as the business grows?
I really want to keep it simple. And I would say the first and non-negotiable tenet is record keeping. And there's always a view that, okay, record keeping is simply the case of this finance went in, finance went out. Record is not limited just to financial reporting. It's just in terms of you sat down, you had a meeting, there were some notes, we agreed this on this day, bank it.
Sure.
We then, so that you can go back and say, no, but we did that before, why are we changing it now? Then you start applying to your minds as to what the change is. And then you're recognizing the the fact that, because corporate governance or good governance, it's been born out of corporate governance. And I keep saying to people, it goes beyond just the PTY Limited. It goes beyond just the company. Good governance is good governance. I even say you can apply it in your household, good governance. But if you recognize that the business is an entity on its own, that it has a life of its own, that means at some stage it needs to function with or without you.
Sure.
You need to have that database, that internal knowledge. That knowledge is the foundation of how you then develop your business from a governance perspective in terms, and it keeps the essence, the vision, mission, and it keeps it true. So I would say, can you please start by just keeping records of every business activity so that you can then see your growth and where you can then forecast what your future needs are going to be, because that's one of the key things of governance, is that we're trying to ensure sustainability and protect the business. In this climate, which is so volatile, anything can happen, and you need to be able to say, my business can still function in 5 years.
Sure.
But you can't have that forward view if you don't understand where you are today.
And if you don't have a record of where it is.
Exactly.
Right. Wow. Whew. I'm thinking.
Good.
Have some water.
Have some water.
Have some water. So you sit on a couple of boards. Well, board chairs, board settings and everything, right? From your experience looking at corporate Lesotho and the African continent at large, what are some of the issues that many corporate organizations are missing from a governance perspective? Especially in this volatile environment, like you mentioned.
I think, I would say, it's slightly a softer issue. I know a lot of people think that it's maybe some technical or systemic issue, but I think, the organizations have policies and procedures. They have accountabilities and responsibilities, but I think the major challenge is adherence to those. Okay? And that's a culture thing. In terms of driving the view that, governance adds value. That's a mindset culture. Governance is not compliance in that I have to tick a box, I submitted the report. It really is a culture of how you do the business.
It's a culture.
So I find, even if you look at some of the great governance failures that we've had, my latest soapy is Mdlanga Commission. Watch that all the time. It's not that there wasn't a policy that said, go to tender, have this committee look. It was people not having the confidence in those processes to then support and enforce them. I think the biggest challenge we have in governance now is one of individuals feeling that they're swimming against the tide, and that they have to be the lone voice that says, hold on a minute, this is not right. And nobody wants to sacrifice themselves. You have individuals, I've got a mortgage to pay. I'm not going to out the CEO for using the car on the weekend. Even though it's clear, the policies are clear, the processes are clear. You have processes in addition within the business that people would say those are designed to enable your whistleblowing policies and the like. But if the culture's wrong, those tools don't really become effectual. So I would say our main issue is that good governance needs to be the norm and not the exception.
Not the exception.
And not the exception. But that only happens if people understand that good governance is not the company secretary's function. It's not the chairperson of the board's function. It's not the CEO's function. Every single individual is required in order to create a good governance environment. Everybody.
I like the fact that you mentioned culture, organizational culture, because there's a common phrase, culture eats strategy for breakfast, right?
Yes.
And I think when you say that, we need to do a mindset shift from thinking that good governance is the company secretary's responsibility or the board chair, is for me, it also brings up the conversation around integrity.
Yes.
If I'm a receptionist and the policies clearly say that you will not take the company stationery,
Yes.
or you will not print your personal things on the company's resources, and I do it,
Yes.
that is not good governance.
No, that's already failure of governance.
Right. And I think for me, a lot of people disassociate themselves from good governance, but they don't realize that every single thing that they do, particularly when nobody's watching,
Yes,
is governance.
absolutely. And, you know, I like that example you give, because then, you know, a lot of the feedback I receive is that I did that as the receptionist because I saw the HR manager come to the office over the weekend and print up her child's examination papers. So why not me? And that's why I say you need to have a culture that says, from my own perspective, I'm a person who has values. I'm a person of integrity, and I will stick by those values no matter what. And not just because it's not being done, am I therefore not going to do it? That culture is defeatist. We're not going to get anywhere.
Sure. And I think to what you said earlier on, that it can also happen in a family.
Yeah.
Because at home, these values that we're talking about now also apply.
Yeah.
I will not do this and this because in this household, we don't do that.
Exactly.
In society as well, we don't do this, and therefore this is not right. You know?
Right.
Oh, okay. I want to talk a bit about, there's a lot of young professionals and people who want to move into boards.
Yes.
How do we do that? I wanna sit on a board. What do
I'm going to ask
mean?
you, why do you want to sit on the board? The first question is why.
Well, I feel like I would like, firstly, I would want to learn. Secondly, I feel like I maybe contribute a different perspective to this particular organization through the skills that I have, through the knowledge that I've acquired, but things that I can also learn.
Yeah.
But now I don't necessarily know what I need to do in order to.
Yeah. I would start off by, you know, when I ask the question why, I'm not being flippant. You know, you meet some young people who'll be like, no, I want to be the chief executive officer of an organization. And then you ask why, and they'll tell you, you're never in the office. Every Friday you're on the golf course. There's a perception as to what that function is, as opposed to what it actually is. So I really would emphasize, take the time to understand why you want to be there. Because at the end of the day, this position in terms of a director on a board is a statutory position. You're required to have a fiduciary duty to the company. And that fiduciary duty can result in you being personally liable for losses. If
For the decisions that you've made.
That you made.
Or contributed to.
Exactly.
Or didn't make.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it is not a position to be taken lightly. But however, it is a position where you get to contribute in terms of the strategic direction of which a business is going. And in terms of governance now today, there is a great deal of emphasis vis-a-vis the sustainability of businesses going forward, that you need to have diversity of thought. I think historically the word was diversity. The view is that how many women are on your board, how many people of a different religion, abilities or disabilities. But they've realized that that's actually just a physical means of getting diversity of thought into the room. And businesses have evolved from existing solely to create returns for the shareholder. Businesses are now recognized as material contributors to the economic and social development of any society that they form part of. And therefore they need to be reflective of that and considerable of that. Hence diversity of thought into the boardroom. You know, the term of sustainable value creation. I think in the Muslim code we use the term intergenerational value creation. So that being said, you are looking for that opportunity. The first thing you need to do, I think, is understand technically what governance is. Just do the work necessary around that. I admit historically, board positions were perceived to be network positions. But the culture now is that governance was just a catchphrase. You can now do a PhD in it. There are degrees in it and masters in governance. So do the work. I'm not saying you need to have full level, but do the work to understand it. Get yourself in the space where governance takes place. Visibility is key. You'll find professionals, your C-suite professionals, veering away from those in leadership. Too often you'll see a group conglomerating and nobody wants to sit and talk with the CEO. The person who doesn't talk to the CEO is not getting in the boardroom. Put yourself, get to the table, sit in the front of the room, not at the back of the room. Have a voice. Recognize that you are a brand in yourself. Every time you are seen, show up.
Show up.
Be prepared, contribute, deliberate. And I'm not suggesting be a yes person. Inquiring. One of the greatest skill sets of any board member is the ability to ask the right question.
Ask the right questions.
The question that draws deliberation and consideration, and then you start to add value in the room. So walk the talk.
Walk the talk.
And then opportunities will come.
And then before we off camera, you mentioned that governance also requires courage. I want to bring that into here. So when you say walk the talk, linking back to some people feel like if they have to speak up, I have a bond to pay, right? So if I want to get into the governance space, how important is it to be courageous? To do have an opinion, to do sit next to the CE who's sitting by herself or by himself, or to literally just show up,
I think it's a fatal flaw if you don't have it. We can talk about the degree of courage, but I think it's a fatal flaw to not have courage. I think there is a lot of value in terms of one of the key attributes that you look for is somebody who has the EQ, can read the room, understands how to communicate in a manner that's most effective. And sometimes that is not necessarily confrontational. Sometimes it's a you just set the scene. Sometimes it's to enter through the side door, not the front door. You need that EQ. And if you can exhibit that, that is absolutely the key that's going to get you into the boardroom.
Sure. Wow. As we wrap up the conversation, I want to close on a personal side of things, right? No, not too personal, don't worry. Looking back in hindsight from the journey that everything you've experienced in your life to where you are now, if you were to say something to your younger self, what would that be?
Ooh. Okay. To my younger self. Have a bit more courage. And a little bit more confidence in yourself. Because throughout the path, you know, there have been so many instances where I'm like, someone's going to catch me. This is, the little imposter syndrome. Is this really happening? And just, own the space that you're in. Just be more present. I think as I've been able to grow, I think one of the consistent lessons I've learned, and I think you picked it up yourself in terms of looking at people, in that people who've got major achievements, you will find that they have got to a position in life where they dictate their work-life balance. It's no problem for, I don't know, I'm trying to think of who's important. No problem in terms of, let me be safe, someone like Richard Branson saying, no, we're not having that meeting. It's my child's rugby match.
Sure.
So I'm not doing it that weekend. those of us, as we're young and hungry, we're like, no, literally you could have labor while you're typing the minutes. You're just so committed to the growth. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I am saying place value in yourself, and take the time to invest in yourself, in what feeds your soul, because it will give you the stamina to go forward and achieve all that you can achieve.
Wow. Be more courageous.
Yeah.
2026 and beyond.
Yes.
What does that look like for Mazvi?
Well, I'm continuing in the governance space. But I think as a direct result of my upbringing, I am really looking to ignore these colonial borders, trying to have more of an African view. The truth is, this continent has everything we could possibly want.
Amen.
And it's a good place to be. So I would love to stretch out into the continent and add more value and learn so much more in terms of that. And then also continuing to internally build and feed myself. I mean, I'm still signing up for courses as we speak. It's interesting.
Interesting.
I went to the Alliance Youth.
I saw you in the pictures.
So I went there.
The cameraman
and a lot of people were like, what are you doing at the young age of 53? But my point is, you're never too old to learn.
Sure.
And I mean, it was at my doorstep. Why wouldn't I take the opportunity? So I think if we can invest more and more in ourselves and just spread ourselves out and see the things that are not the normal course, and just take a little bit of a risk and then grow.
Take a little bit more risk.
Yeah.
Mazvi, thank you so much for spending your Friday afternoon with us.
Pleasure.
I hope you've enjoyed this conversation.
I have.
I'm glad we actually did this conversation.
I'm glad. Thank you very much.
If people do want to connect with you for business purposes,
Yes.
where do they find you? Or how do they find
My email.
email?
Yeah, I love the email.
Yes.
I'm not a WhatsApp fan. I hate voice notes. Email works for me. And I can give you my email.
Definitely.
We'll share.
Yeah, we'll definitely link it in the show notes below.
Absolutely.
It has been an absolute pleasure. And I think it feels so good to be back on the Open Corner. I think for some while, we kind of focus on the other podcast and not this one.
Yeah.
So it's so exciting to have you as our first guest in 2026. And I'm looking forward to growing this platform. I'm looking forward to seeing the consultancy grow. And I'm excited to see the impact that the work you're doing in corporate governance, good governance, really make an impact in Lesotho and beyond the African continent. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Guys, you've been listening to another episode of the Open Corner podcast. This show is available on YouTube, so remember to comment in the comment section and let us know, but also to subscribe, because we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on this particular platform. It's also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, where you can listen on demand at any point in time. If you do have any questions, like I mentioned, I will provide the email in the comment section below. And if there are any questions, I'll also forward them to Mazvi for her to respond to. We do engage, so I encourage you to do the same. A big shout out to the creative team behind the camera. That's also photography. Yes, he's and then Visa Street on the audio. And a big thank you to me, the host of the most. Until the next one, do check out the other podcast, the TKO Finance and Wellness podcast, on that channel. And then escape to TK for all finance-led travel content as we explore Africa and, in particular, the Lesotho country's highlands.
Yes.
Lesotho's highlands.
Yeah.
It is absolutely incredible. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.